That peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. You can join the game, fight the wars, play with form all you want, but to find real peace, you have to let the armor go.
How's life? Everything good?
You know, it's so beautiful. It really is, especially when I'm absent from it.
So Jim Carrey has all these clips of him reportedly going crazy.
There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
They're
I
celebrating.
mean, you got to admit it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe in
icons, boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with.
But I believe that there is a way deeper story here. I believe he went through something that is called a spiritual awakening.
Do you feel like you're separated from the rest of the world and what's going on?
No, not separated at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey is a great character, and I was lucky to get the part. But I don't think of that as me anymore.
Why does it seem that this guy has found a peace that is so rarely found in this world?
Who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe. And ever since that day, I've been trying to get back there.
And oh my God, the first time that you feel this, it's such a weight off your shoulders. And this is a clip or an audio recording of the moment that I went through that.
And it came to a feeling that felt more true than any experience before. I felt a deep connection to everything around me. I looked into the eyes of Felicia and I recognized myself in her. I did not identify anymore with Max. I identified with the whole earth. It felt like the ultimate experience of truth. The illusion of being separate was broken. This feeling was literally beyond words.
So it has been almost 5 years ago since I've had this oneness experience. Your whole worldview being turned upside down from thinking that you are separate from nature to thinking that you are connected to everything. To you that I'm talking to right now, this microphone, everything in existence.
I used to believe that who I was ended at the edge of my skin, that I had been given this little vehicle called a body from which to experience creation. And though I couldn't have asked for a sportier model. Then I learned that everything outside the vehicle was part of me too.
That you are part of that you are connected to that at every moment. Integrating that experience into real life has been such a tough journey because I have been always a believer of the atheist world perspective, that there is nothing spiritual about this world, that there's no God, that there's no deeper reality, to believing where we are all connected and that the fundamental nature of reality is spiritual. It has given me so much peace. Actually, the reason that I'm sharing my knowledge, sharing everything I know on this YouTube channel is because of that experience. Like before, I thought that money and success was the highest achievable thing. And now I just feel like I want to share what I know in order to help people go through this insane experience, because I feel like many of us are having this experience or have had this experience. But this video is also for the people who are just curious. And in this video, I will share all the beliefs, really the nitty-gritty, grounded spiritual knowledge that you don't have to have had this experience, where you can at least open your mind. I believe that when you watch this video fully, you'll think a little bit different about this world. You at least have opened your mind to the possibility that the common denominator in all these religions have some sense of truth to it. There are so many people around this globe that report having the same experience through a host of different methods. And in this video, I really want to share in depth how you go from this atheist perspective to a spiritual believer, or at least how I went there and how Jim Carrey went there. Because he also believed that we were just these meat puppets, that yourself ended at the edge of your skin, as he put it so beautifully, and how you can find peace in this worldview. Because as an atheist, man, I was so stressed out, man. And I really feel like so many people are waking up to the absurdity of this fucking system that we're living in. We're waking up to the division, to the greed, to so many of the things that makes this world sick. And I really believe that this perspective shift in worldview can really help humanity move forward and live more in love and empathy and not in fear. And in this video, I want to share the shifts that I went through that has given me such confidence, peace with being here. Before I integrated this world belief, I was terrified of death. I'm still not totally not afraid of death, but oh man, I'm having way more peace with it as I'm living right now. But man, I was feeling lost. I was stressed. I experienced burnout. Ugh. I was just not doing well before I had this experience and fully integrated this. I had stress migraines and a panic attack in the college where I was studying. I was such a jittery motherfucker, man. I was so unsure of myself. Oh man, and in my lowest points I was using alcohol to like drinking a liter of beer at night to take the edge off, you know? And this transition wasn't easy because of my skeptic, atheist nature, right? My science-y background. Because science tells us, and what we've been taught in school, tells us that we are just these meat sacks, these meat puppets that are just here because of a cosmic accident. And there is not much purpose in there. There's not much heart in there, right? And so this has been a very difficult transition, but exactly because it has been such a difficult transition, I needed to have my mind on my side. And exactly because it was so hard for me, I feel like I can bring a unique perspective here to connect the dots between all these interviews that I saw of Jim Carrey. And really seeing a celebrity who has a platform talk about this shit really makes me feel validated and makes me feel really good and hopeful for the future that at least someone has the balls to talk about that.
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream.
There's just things happening. And there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together.
And I want to connect the dots here. I want to really get into the nitty-gritty of how integration looks, of how it looks, of not only how it is possible to have such an experience, but also all the consequences and integration that goes along with this. and eventually landing on a place where you don't care about what anyone thinks of you.
Everybody walks around and they go like, why am I depressed? Well, it's because you're trying to be something for the world, you know? And as soon as you let that go, better things happen.
Where you feel confident and secure and safe and not anxious and peaceful inside. Having gone through so many existential crises in the past 5 years, I just feel the responsibility to share what I know. How you can actually make this journey from a skeptic person to someone who is peaceful and believes in this deeper reality. And contrary to what many believe, science is actually moving in this direction as well. Like, actually the way I make my money is to help with video productions with the YouTube channel Essentia Foundation. And they provide a platform for neuroscientists and physicists and many more that believe that this world is not purely physical. And it gives me so much hope to also get science on our side, right? I believe the world is really moving into a different direction. And I also believe that over the next 100 years, we're going to see drastic changes in society because of this. Because greed, a lack of empathy, division, polarization, fear, everything will change when people will embrace this new reality. It's fucking crazy. So I'm just here doing my part. So this video is divided in 5 big parts. In the first part, I will address what awakening actually is. In the second part, I will discuss the different ways we can have this deep experience. And in the third part, I will discuss how these experiences actually lead to a profound inner peace. In the fourth part, I will discuss how this spiritual experience can be integrated into our daily lives and discuss how you can actually kickstart this long, slow process of re-examining everything you fucking know. The fourth part is all about integration, and the first part of that is getting to know why we believe certain stuff, all the different ways we are programmed, a method on how you can switch your beliefs, together with a lot of common beliefs that plagued me for most of my life, and also things that I've observed in the world around me. Part 5 is actually a little bit of a bonus section that talks about a non-bullshit version of manifestation. As you know, I have grown up with science and thoroughly examined a lot of bullshit that goes around into the woo-woo community. So I will discuss a form of manifestation that I wholeheartedly believe to be true. And then also I will, in the second part of that part, I will let my spiritually curious mind wander for a second and also discuss how this spiritual reality might be conducive to an even crazier, out there form of manifestation and how that would work. And of course, in all these parts, I will include interviews of Jim Carrey to show that all of this is in line with his journey. So sit back and relax and enjoy this very deep video. This is gonna be a big video. What is actually a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening is basically waking up to the fact that this reality is not purely physical. That if you zoom down, you get molecules, you get atoms, and you get even deeper, then you get to quarks. And if you go even beyond that, everything turns into fields, quantum fields. I'm not pretending to be a quantum scientist, but what I believe to be true, working and producing these videos with the scientists that discuss these deeper realities, that beyond matter, there is this deeper reality, and through experience, we can tap into that feeling. And in this reality, everything in existence, everything that exists that we can see, you, me, this microphone, everything around us is a pocket of physical reality in a bigger spiritual reality.
My soul is not contained within the limits of my body. My body is contained within the limitlessness of my soul. One unified field. One unified field of nothing, dancing for no particular reason, except maybe to comfort and entertain itself. As that shift happens in you, you won't be feeling the world, you'll be felt by it, you'll be embraced by it.
And a way you can actually experience this is by thinking, who is listening to my thoughts? Who is the observer?
A few months ago, after knowing Eckhart Tolle for a while and studying the books, I woke up and I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking?
And that is, in my opinion, the ultimate form of reality. So what I believe to be true, where all the science seems to point to, is that there is, at the core of everything that is physical, some sort of spiritual layer that is aware, that is an observer, and actually spiritually awakening is waking up to the fact that that is true. It's not this woke bullshit. Don't get me started on woke. Awakening is realizing that we are not separate, that we are not these meat puppets, these things that if we kill someone, that we're killing ourselves, right? This leads to instant empathy. Like, realizing that this deep reality exists, that is what spiritual awakening is about. And it goes directly against what school has been telling us all our lives. It is also waking up to the fact, in my opinion, that death is not the end, that we will just merge back into this deeper reality where physical existence emanates from, and that we will be reconnected with everybody who did die, and that souls are a thing. This is kind of what I'm talking about. This is and how you can summarize this shit is non-duality. That separation doesn't even exist, that everything in existence is connected. So that is spiritual awakening. And a different way to talk about this is that when you have such an experience, it's not a human having a spiritual experience, but actually the spiritual reality having a human experience.
I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy.
So it's not that we humans are connecting to something spiritual, it's that the bigger reality, the bigger spiritual reality is actually incarnating from non-physical reality to experience how it is to be a human. It's kind of flipping everything upside down. And this really gives you an identity struggle, and this is also a big part of what Jim Carrey talks about, is that he no longer identifies as Jim Carrey. Like, he always says Jim Carrey doesn't exist.
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream.
There's just things happening. And there are clusters of tetrahedrons moving around together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what he means by this is that we are forming an ID, an identity of ourselves, of who we are. And this is an illusion. This is a dream. I'm not Max. I am the totality of what exists. I am everything. I am one with everything. And you start to identify with this bigger thing. And a lot of people also define spirituality as being connected to something greater than yourself. And some people find that in a mission of a company or whatever. But the feeling of being connected to something bigger than yourself, that is what spirituality is actually about. And starting to identify with the totality of existence will make you more humble, will make you have more empathy towards others. When I look into the eyes of a different person, I feel like I am talking to myself. Behind your eyes is the same observer, the same base reality that we're all connected to. So if you take something away from someone, you actually take something away from yourself. And that's why this whole idea is so revolutionary, and why waking up to this reality can make you so much more peaceful and empathic towards others, right? So let's move to part 2. How can you actually facilitate this experience? I identified 4 ways, and there are probably way more, but the way that you can actually experience this oneness, the first step is realizing that this observer, this awareness that is listening to everything around you, that is seeing through your eyes, that is hearing through your ears, that your brain is not where you exist, that your brain is just a processor of information, but that the thing that is actually conscious, that consciousness is receiving this information through your ears, through your taste, through your nose, through your eyes, and it's creating this experience of being a human. And like, this is the actual first step. You can get there through the mind, through really thinking about this yourself. I didn't resonate with that when I had an atheist worldview. It was like, whatever. So there are 3 other ways. Part 2 is some form that will change your state of consciousness. A lot of people do this by doing breath work, for example. Holotropic breath work, I believe, is one that many people use. I actually went to a spiritual festival where I did an hour of deep breathing, and eventually I melted together with the totality of existence. So it is possible with breath work. And the third method that how you can get there is through meditation. And there are many different forms of meditation. My best bet is that Jim Carrey went there also through transcendental meditation. He also talks about this.
Transcendental meditation and ancient Vedic knowledge. It does allow you to separate who you truly are and what's real from the stories that run through your head, and to see that there's a huge difference between a dog that is going to eat you in your mind and an actual dog that is going to eat you.
And the fourth way of getting there is through the use of psychedelics. And that is how I got there. And these are actually chemically shutting down certain parts of the brain that label reality, that create this identity. So, for example, this is a microphone. I don't see the totality of what is actually there in my hand right now because my brain just shortcuts it and calls it a microphone so that it no longer requires processing, right? So we do this with everything in our world, and psychedelics shut down that part of the brain so that we get to see reality as it truly is without this extra layer of labels.
Our eyes are not viewers, they're also projectors that are running a second story over the picture that we see in front of us all the time.
If I see that plant, I have a plant right there, and if I see a leaf, I just see leaf. But if you zoom into that, you know that this leaf is so much more complex, and as you zoom in, stuff gets more and more and more complex. If you would realize that about everything in our environment, we would get tired so quickly. So we abstract and give it meaning and an identity so that it requires less processing to actually move through this world and get stuff done. So the reality that you perceive during psychedelics or during deep states of meditation or through breathwork, when you melt into that oneness, they all have this same pattern of shutting down the part of the brain that creates all these labels. And they reconnect you with this deeper spiritual reality because your brain is actually actively working against that. So that is the best way I can explain the 4 ways of getting that experience of experiencing this deeper layer of reality. Part 3. How do these experiences actually lead to inner peace? What actually changed that seemingly made Jim Carrey so much more peaceful and made me definitely way more peaceful than I was before I had these experiences and integrated that. That is really important because you can have this experience and not do anything with it and still totally feel extremely stressed and not peaceful at all. So stay watching for that in part 4. So what I truly believe is that when you have one of these experiences, you realize that everything you have been taught in school, by your friends, by your parents, is not true. And you land in a deep existential crisis, not knowing what is true and what is not. Well, you have this weight lifted off your shoulders in the beginning when you had that experience, but then your brain starts to creep back. So actually feeling connected, that is the first thing that will lead to instant peace. But your brain and your identity or label machine will fight back. What leads to lasting peace is this process of not knowing what is actually true and you being forced to re-examine everything that you believe. And it cost me 5 years to get to the place where I am right now. When you realign all these beliefs, all these things, this whole existential crisis, this process that you are rethinking everything, you will start to unpack all your fucking trauma. You will start to unpack your fear of death. You will start to unpack so much about yourself, and the deeper you get, the more you move forward in this process, the more peaceful you become, because every little doubt, every little thing that you worry about, all these stressors, all these things that create stress, you realize come from a place of illusion. To give you the best experience in this video, I will share a lot of these beliefs right now that I deem super important, that I unpacked, so that you, even if you haven't had the experience, can use to get yourself to a more peaceful place. And these are the things that I see that Jim Carrey has realized. And I see that in the people around me who had experiences like this. And I know it, of course, from my own experience and re-examining all this fucking baggage over all these years. And I will do a rapid fire right now to make you see how this actually leads to a more peaceful existence. So as you know, we are programmed just by our biology to fear death. That is the core of many fears that we have.
Fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear.
If we are afraid to speak in public because we are herd creatures and we are afraid to stand out or do something stupid that will get the group to abandon us, in prehistoric times, that meant death. You couldn't survive on your own because you needed a group to hunt, blah, 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 blah. That is only one example, and all this other shit all stems from this one core belief that when we die, there's nothing, that we're afraid to die. So after you felt that there is more than just this body, you still have these patterns in your brain that will constantly move you back to fear. And like after I had my first experience that I felt that death was not the end, after I came down from that experience, the fear just crept back in. So to really, and then all the fears that lay on top of that also are there. And even if you're not afraid of death anymore or never have been afraid of dying, you are still programmed to fear some stuff. So enough about the fear of death for now. The second thing that I believe that helps you to find more peace, I really feel like there is something to the belief that stuff isn't happening to you, stuff is happening for you.
And when I say life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, I really don't know if that's true. I'm just making a conscious choice to perceive challenges as something beneficial so that I can deal with them in the most productive way. You'll come up with your own style. That's part of the fun.
This is the belief of pronoia instead of paranoia. The belief that life conspires in your favor instead of like trying to kill you every chance it gets. I don't believe that there is a little puppet master that is controlling life to be in your favor. No. I believe that whenever you experience something bad, it is because you can get a lesson out of that. And this might be just a perspective shift that is really helpful, or just to move through life, or this could also be a belief that is born from not feeling that you are this separate little being that can be killed at any minute, to realize that this physical existence is born out of this larger spiritual reality. And why the fuck would that be the case if not for spirit wanted to experience what it is like to not believe in this spiritual reality, or to experience what it is to be a human? So what that makes you realize is that this whole reality is there for us to have this life. And it's not here, we are not here by accident. We are here because spirit, or this spiritual base layer of reality, wanted to know itself, wanted to experience itself from a perspective where it's severely disconnected from itself, so that it can rediscover itself, like having such a spiritual experience, and have the perspective of not having felt that for a long time. Because how can you rediscover this spiritual nature without being disconnected from it in the first place? So it gives us perspective to experience the beauty of existence. And this really feels to me like this whole reality, this whole existence, this whole universe is there happening for us, not to fucking kill us or whatever. It might be just a perspective shift, but it really helps me, because whenever I'm stuck in a cycle or stuck in my head or living in fear, I ask myself the question, how could this be the best thing that ever happened to me? So if I lose my home or I spend some time living in a van in the Dutch cold winter, bruh, when I got this apartment again and I had heating and you know the saying that you never know what you have until it's gone, right? Well, that is what I experienced. I believe that this is also happening on the biggest possible scale. It disconnects us from spirit in order for us to live a life where we are disconnected and then rediscovering spirit and seeing how incredibly beautiful it is. If we were always experiencing as if we were connected to spirit, we wouldn't have that difference, right? And me screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God!" That wouldn't have happened because it would have been inherent in my experience all along. So yeah, this little rant. I really feel like there is something to the belief that stuff isn't happening to you, stuff is happening for you. And every time you have an undesirable experience, it is because you have to learn something. And every cycle, everything that you get through, everything that you work through, is you getting closer to spirit, is you moving a little step closer to rediscover your true nature. So yeah. Actually, me thinking that life happened to me, not for me, led me to extreme burnout because I have grown up with ADHD. And when you are in the system and you have ADHD and you can't focus, you are not productive. You aren't getting anything done. And what this created in me was the belief that I wasn't good enough, that I needed to stress myself out in order to get stuff done, which in hindsight was just me getting into fight or flight, holding a metaphorical gun to my head, like if I don't do this, I will blah blah blah, enter existential reason right here. If I don't study for my exam, I will get a load of student debt, I won't get a job, and I will die in a ditch somewhere. Like me doing that for most of my young life and life in college led me to equate me being stressed to being productive, and that me relaxing and trusting the universe, trusting myself, was not wanted. So these two core beliefs, life is conspiring in your favor and the fear of death, are the two biggest things I believe that really helps you to live a life that is more peaceful. But to really integrate this experience, you have to be aware, and this is part 4. Sorry, the rapid fire will come in this part. Like there are infinite beliefs. Like every environment is different, and every body is different. So in order for this video to be useful to a very wide range of different people, I need to discuss how we actually start believing stuff. Because knowing that, being aware of that, will help you to create new beliefs and will help you to identify your old beliefs. So I now will discuss how this process goes, and then I will discuss a method of how to actually dive deep and change your core belief system one by one. And this part will end with 9 common beliefs that I've identified in myself and in the world around me that I really believe will help you to be your most effective, peaceful, and loving self. So we have to realize that there are a lot of different ways we can get programmed in this world. And I've identified, and there could be more, but I believe these are the ones that are most important. There are 5 ways that we acquire new beliefs. And the first one is that an authority figure tells us something. And this can be our parents, teachers, our friends, people who we see online. They share something to us, and if we trust that source of information, we will just act on that thing they told us as if it were true. And if that is not true, you will bump your head into the wall until you realize it's not true. And so really be conscious of what information you let into your system. So the second thing is that when we grow up, if we behave badly, our parents withhold their love and attention from us in order to create the desired behavior of the kid. And like, for example, if you hit your sister or you pee on the carpet, your parents get angry or you get punished or whatever. This is all a pattern of withholding good feelings, good outcomes from you in order to change your behavior. If your parents aren't conscious on how we actually get programmed and how we start to believe things, we can start to believe that we are wrong. So it's very important to go back to your childhood, and whenever you feel like you're crossing your own boundaries, you really should take a cold hard look on why you are people pleasing so much. Are you just trying to make that person love and respect you, and you feel like you crossing your own boundaries is necessary in order to get that love, is necessary in order to get that validation? And I believe that this is a pattern that was created when one of your parents were withholding love and you crossed your own boundaries in order to receive that love. So we end up doing that to figures that resemble our parents in this world. And this could be friends, this could be spouse. And I personally just recently started to dig into this. And I have had a really great childhood. I don't blame my parents for anything. I've had a very healthy family, but these things are so subtle. And whenever you feel like you're crossing your boundary in order to appease someone, chances are that this is just that pattern that has been ingrained, that for some circumstances, your own feelings about a certain situation don't matter. And I want to tell you that as soon as you start really being hard on those boundaries, man, your life will change. And it really helped me a lot. So the third thing that makes us believe something is media. So anything that enters your brain through what you see on TV or what you listen to in music, also the people around you, anything that you take in to your consciousness. If you hear it often enough, you will start to believe it. It's just pure repetition. And if you watch the news every day, you repeat to yourself every day that this world is an unsafe place, eventually you start to believe that the world they portray on the media is the actual world, which we all know is not, because they're zooming in on every catastrophe that happened in the world. If you walk outside, in most places, in the Western world at least, there are no wars. There are no people stabbing each other. They're like in 95 or 97%, like me, how confident I am is maybe directly correlated on how little I watch the news, right? If you walk outside, at least in my country, you see that this world is actually pretty peaceful. And also with the polarization in the media, like it seems that everybody is like grabbing each other by the throats. But in reality, we aren't behaving like that. So be very conscious on what you take in, who you listen to. Anything that gets repeated will stick if it's repeated long enough. So get yourself out of the environment that is negatively impacting your emotional state and makes you think things that aren't true. So the fourth thing on how we acquire new beliefs is personal experiences. So whenever you have an experience that you are walking a red light and you get a ticket, then you've had an experience where jaywalking, I believe it is, will result in less money. And yeah, so any experience that you've had, like I see a lot of feminists online that are viewing every guy as being bad, or they hate men. They hate a group of people just because they have a certain attribute. And not only feminists, but a lot of people are like this. Racists, a lot of people. And the core point here is that if you had one experience or even multiple experiences, and I don't want to invalidate any physical abuse that maybe some of you girls or women have had, because it's fucking disgusting and I know it. And on behalf of all men, I am so sorry. Not only in the physical abuse space, but in every situation. If something happened to you, this is more often than not an accurate representation of the reality. And yeah, so man, that really sucked the energy out of me. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's really fucking bad that this shit happens, and it still fucking happens. And so yeah, just moving on from that. Any experience that you have that threatens your survival in some way, the higher the emotional load that gives you, the more ingrained the belief will get into your brain. So especially in those kind of abusive situations, the emotional load is so high that we immediately start to warp our reality in order to protect ourselves, right? And so these experiences shape the way we see the world. If I, for example, was beaten up in an alley, I would see alleys as some place that is very dangerous, while probably 90% of the time there is no danger there. So we need to be conscious of our past experiences, try to realign that back towards something that is more conducive to the truth, in order for us to not be afraid of a certain group of people or whatever. Another thing is that these experiences can also be collective, right? When you're a kid, you look at your parents and you instantly copy their behavior. And if your parents also copied that behavior without questioning why they actually do that, you'll just start to behave in the same way. And even without having a certain traumatic experience, you could be ending up doing certain types of behaviors that were born out of something that happened in the 1800s collectively, for example. So you kind of want to examine your behaviors, like, why the fuck am I actually even doing this, right? This is the process. Like, why am I scared right now? Why am I hiding or whatever? So yeah, we copy behavior from our parents, and when we're a kid, we just take what they say to be true. And our parents don't know what the truth is. I barely know what the truth is. So yeah, we're all guessing and we're all figuring it out. So in this world that is very much changing, we need this flexibility to be able to re-examine our past experiences and traumas and behavior. So this is a nice bridge to the fifth way of how we can add new beliefs to our system. And that is my favorite way, re-examining old stuff and logically thinking about stuff. Examining, why the fuck am I doing what I'm doing right now? Why do I do what I do? Why do I feel what I feel? And these are consciously acquired beliefs. And the more you do this, the more you ask yourself, if you're feeling something bad, what do I believe to be true that makes me feel this way? What do I believe to be true, and this is important, that makes me feel this way? Because then you get to the root of something, and then you can think, why is this even here? And you realize that you've been acting on something or feeling a certain way that maybe was useful in your youth and is not useful anymore right now. And also with behavior, like, why the fuck am I doing what I'm doing? Is it based because I feel like something? And why do I feel what I feel? What do I believe to be true that makes me feel this way and makes me act this way? And this is really tiring, and you will realize that so much of your stuff, so much of your behavior was just blindly copied of someone, was just blindly copied from what the media is telling us, is just blindly copied from what influencers have told us, what we see in our environment, what we hear our friends talk about, what we listen to in music and whatever. So much of the way we are isn't consciously programmed into us. And I can't stress this enough. This is the way you get more peaceful. This is the way you will create a life that is your own. So ask yourself that question, right? Make this thing conscious. Examine everything that you do, everything that you think, everything that you feel. This is the way. So now I will share 9 common beliefs that I've perceived in my own life and that I saw with others that were holding them back. So the first one is, I actually already touched on this one. Whenever you didn't acquire the love that you wanted from one parent or the other, you will start to act to receive that love again. And this will be an unconscious pattern, and it will express itself in trying to prove yourself to yourself or the world. It makes you feel that you're not enough. It will make you feel as if you need to do something to receive the love, to receive respect, to receive validation. But the only reason that you feel like you lack that validation, lack that love, is because you are still trying to get that love from one of your parents. So the way you get through this is to go back to that experience and acknowledge that inner child that wants to prove itself and hold him, in my case, and say that you are enough. Give yourself that validation. And also what works for me is going back to that moment and going back to past experiences. And for example, an experience, this was not me trying to prove myself, but this did make me feel like I was wrong, was that I stole a straw from a counter and my parents made me return it because I needed to ask if I wanted that straw. That was just a basic lesson, right? That's okay. But it made me feel that I was wrong and that I stole something, and I was crying and and I felt ashamed, and I felt like I was wrong. And how I went back to that experience was seeing my little kid and telling him that it's okay that you stole that straw. It's okay. You weren't wrong for that, right? And also what helps me is imagining that your parents are saying that to you. So those are two ways you can actually get back to those past experiences and reframe that and not feel like you're wrong anymore. Not feeling like you need to prove that you are good in some way, right? So also really feeling how you felt as that kid, you feeling wrong, and really holding yourself in that experience and saying that it's okay. That is very important. So yeah, a belief too that I've experienced in my own life is that relaxation is dangerous. Whenever I relaxed, and I already touched on this, whenever I relaxed, I wasn't productive and society deemed me unworthy of success. And that made me think that stress and productiveness went together, and me realizing that actually working from a place of love and passion and excitement was the answer for me, and that me being relaxed is actually in the long run way more productive. And so that's how I reframed that belief.
You will only ever have two choices, love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart.
So belief number 3, self-sacrifice is a part of life. And I already touched on this as well. I'm not sure if I'm just repeating myself here, but self-sacrifice, crossing your own boundaries, is, in my opinion, never okay. And for me, sacrificing myself was just an unconscious habit of me trying to prove to one of my parents that I was enough, that I deserved some form of love that I didn't receive in my past. Once again, I've had a very nice childhood, so this should alarm you. If you haven't had a nice childhood, this will probably go way fucking deeper. And for me, it was just one afternoon of feeling that shit, that unworthiness, and holding myself through that experience. And then it was a lot better, and I immediately started to look at my schedule, and I thought, hey, I didn't want this. And everything started to unravel. All the things that I did out of proving myself that I was enough, I started to realize that crossing my boundaries was never okay. Self-sacrifice is never okay. It will lead to resentment in the long run. If you like I talked about in my passion video, whenever you stay in a safe job because your family or your spouse convinced you to keep there, and you are doing a job you hate for over 10 years, you slowly start to hate your spouse for the boundary that you crossed yourself. So self-sacrifice, maybe in the short term, will be without consequences, but this slowly will rise and it will blow up in your face. So get conscious of this shit. Reason 4. The reason of our unhappiness is outside of us. So I think this is very relatable, and all the influencers talk about taking responsibility, and I really feel that. And still, I was in a situation where I was traveling and I couldn't get the videos out that I wanted to get out, and I started to blame the chaos of traveling, not having my ADHD meds. Everything outside of myself was the problem of why I wasn't succeeding. And this makes you feel desperate. This makes you feel like you're not in control of the situation. And this slips in because society and the media likes to blame everything on everybody, while it's always us. It is us. Because if you point the finger, and you probably heard this 1,000 times, you're giving your power away. It is so much more conducive to a healthy, happy lifestyle to believe that anything you do, anything you experience is about you learning something. And it's not about the outside world being wrong. This is someone who did something to you, right? Forgiveness is about you, not about the other person. So yeah, that is number 4. Yeah, and also part of number 4, like, because I needed to stress myself out, because I had this illogical relationship to, if I relax, I won't get anything done. I had this belief inside of me that I needed to make myself feel shitty until I did something, and then I could stop making myself feel shitty. For example, if I wanted to go to the gym, or I wanted to achieve the goal of me going to the gym, I would beat myself up, like, go to the fucking gym, go to the fucking gym. If you don't go to the gym, you'll be fat, or blah, blah, blah. And when I got there, I felt like I needed to run at least 5 miles, or at least however, what the fuck I wanted myself to do for me to not feel shitty about myself. The way I approach this right now is that I focus way more on just showing up, like setting this bar ridiculously high for myself. If you just focus on showing up, you will get into the emotional state of a winner earlier. And I made a video about this, and you can watch that back. I will link that in the description. But it's probably on minute 42 or something. I got into the emotional state of that I was a winner for just going to the gym, and I ran 15 fucking kilometers, and it felt like that I did that without any effort. It proved to me that your emotional state, if I was just making myself feel shitty till I did something, that was not helping me. I didn't want to do that again after that, so it never stuck, the routine or whatever you want to accomplish. It's all that short-term thinking bullshit. So what I call this, and what me and Felicia coined this as, is the trap to do. You shouldn't let your emotional state be decided what you do. You should do stuff that is conducive to a positive emotional state. You just flip it around. And I started doing stuff because I knew this would make me feel good, right? And it's really subtle, but it really helped me a ton. So reason number 5, it's the belief that everybody is judging us and looking at what we do. Yeah, I realized that this is just not true. Everybody's doing their own shit. Nobody is giving a fuck about what you do. And yeah, the sooner you start letting that go, the more you will start to act from an intrinsic place and not doing stuff to appease other people. And this will make you move through this world so much more authentically, and you will start attracting the people you actually want to attract because you embody your true nature. And life will, I believe, and I see that life is getting so much better if you live that way. So that is a short one. Number 6, following your passion is not realistic. Society taught me this. It's not fucking true. At least not for me. I decided to not follow the safe path. And where I am right now, I decided to follow my true, authentic passion. I dropped out of my college and decided to start from scratch in a new area, making videos. And now I'm on track to make more money than the average developer in Holland, the average AI person. And I thoroughly believe, and Jim Carrey does as well, that everything will fall into place when you embody your true, authentic nature. You'll have more energy, you will be able to work so much more hours, and you'll actually start to meet people that are liking you for you and not the mask that you portray to the world. So, damn man, I realized that this is such a long video, holy fuck. Damn. Number 7, being authentic is not appreciated. This is the basic thing that boys shouldn't cry, and that if a girl in high school is enjoying her fair share of boyfriends, that she is immediately a hoe. And man, there's so much societal pressure on the way we behave. And yeah, this ties a little bit into this being your true authentic self. You might think that it's not appreciated, but this is just your current environment not being used to who you actually are because you just dropped the mask. And you just have to let those people go and interact with more people being authentic, and you will find yourself in an environment that is conducive to who you truly are. Number 8, your emotional state decides your future. So this one is very, very important. So opportunities, why do people give you opportunities, right? Do people give you opportunities because you desperately need them, or because you could take it or leave it? What is more attractive? Someone who doesn't need anything, or someone who is desperate for that opportunity? You can answer that for yourself. When you adopt this world belief that the world is happening for you instead of against you, you'll start to have more detachment and trust in the universe, which makes you have an emotional state of trust. And people who trust and who are happy and who are passionate and excited have a higher chance of getting the opportunities and the life they want. Because humans smell fear. My success rate with clients, and I got that back from them also in feedback, was for a big part my excitement, my passion. Who doesn't want to hire someone who is excited, right? That was like almost all the opportunities I've gotten in my life was because I was super excited about stuff. And it's not only that they perceive your inner state because of all the micro expressions and jitters and whatever. It's also because you look at the world through the things that you believe. Like I talked about in earlier in the video, right? If you see an alleyway and you've been beaten up in an alleyway in the past, you start to view this alleyway as more dangerous than it probably is, because your brain is constantly trying to decide where dangers lie and whatever. This also happens with opportunities. Like I told you in the beginning, you see the world and you will see only the labels. So if I see the alleyway, it's danger, danger, danger. That's the label. So you're looking at the world through all these labels. And if these labels aren't correct, then you'll just see a false world. And the way, like, these labels are only the 1% of reality that comes through. We filter out 99% of what we see. We decide what is important and what is not. And if we have an emotional state of trust and excitement, you will be far more likely to filter out the opportunities that are there. If you are in a fearful state, you will only see the things that can kill you and harm you, which will automatically give you a higher chance of attracting of that being a reality in your world. So if you have a high emotional state, you do things that make you feel the best and detached and whatever, you will start to see opportunities everywhere because they are all there. It's just that we filtered them out before we had a positive outlook on the world. So this filtering is the key to spotting opportunities. That's just my point. And this is decided by your emotional state. and the things that you believe, because the things that you believe are for a big part deciding your emotional state. All right? It all works together. And number 9, damn man, this is long. Every cycle that you're in will repeat itself until the lesson that is within is learned. For me, I was in such desperate cycles, like me trying to get these videos out there and failing. And I was like with myself, why the fuck am I failing? I need to work harder. I'm so distracted. Whatever. Me actually beating myself up that I didn't do enough was the thing that I constantly needed to recover from, and was thus preventing me to get these videos out in a consistent basis, because me stressing myself out needed recovery time, and I was beating myself up because I needed recovering time, and this was a vicious cycle repeating for years. And me learning that not beating myself up was actually the way to get out of these cycles was such a... I just laughed so hard when I realized that. And what that showed me is that in every cycle you are in, everything that is constantly repeating in your life, there's a hidden lesson there. And you just need to figure out what the fuck is going wrong every time. And actually me obsessively trying to figure out what was going wrong was actually the thing that I was doing wrong. So that was such a blind spot, and that's why it took years. So really try to take an objective, neutral look at whatever the fuck is going on. So yeah, that was a big one for me. So bonus, big part, chapter 5, a non-bullshit way of manifestation. The first thing is that you are filtering out all these opportunities, right? Your belief system creates the world that you see, and you creating a belief system that is better conducive to what is actually true by re-examining everything that you do will make you able to put your energy exactly where it matters. Because me being in those desperate cycles actually made me put my energy in beating myself up or obsessively trying to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me, that I didn't have any energy left to actually do the thing that I wanted to do. So that's like a hack for manifesting the thing that you want in life. If you exactly know where to put your energy to make something work, then you are like a god. You know the butterfly effect, right? If you would know how this air would move and it would create a storm somewhere far around the world, if you had 100% accurate information about everything in your reality, you would be like a god. And to be like a small part of that, you need to re-examine everything in yourself to know where to put your energy in life. And that will get you so many fucking results with so much less effort. Really focus on where am I putting my energy and why, right? Well, and we have talked about beliefs and perceiving the world. Actually, one very important thing that you need to know about that is that if you don't believe something is possible, you won't even go there. So if you don't believe that making YouTube videos or doing what you love or whatever is even possible, you won't even start. And Jim Carrey also talks about this.
Didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that
I
true?
wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years. Just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million.
So you visualized
From then on, it was whenever I wanted something to happen, I manifested it. I stood there in an open field like this, with my arms out, going, I'm ready, come on.
And I really believe that a big part of why people aren't succeeding is just not knowing where to begin. Well, I say start with yourself. Start examining every fucking bit of your internal psyche. And then start to examine everything that you think about the world to be true, inside and out. And then you start to realize that if someone is making money on YouTube by sharing their passion or whatever, and you have an accurate perception of who you truly are, what are your unique talents, what are you're passionate about, you know where to find your path. But you have to believe that it's possible just to begin with. The naysayers are always true until they're wrong once. Beautiful quote. So if I let my spiritual mind wander for a second, there is also signs that point that your emotional state, your emotional frequency might even decide what timeline you will walk. And I think this thoroughly integrates with all the logical stuff that we've discussed in this video. But there are signs in science and in spiritual people that I follow, and with the whole law of attraction, there are signs that if you are in a high emotional frequency, emotional state, I don't like the word frequency. I like to use the word emotional state because everybody knows what the fuck that is. That reality is basically on the Planck scale, the shortest possible time scale, is kind of refreshing a simulation with everything that you do. Every second you're switching moments, moment to moment to moment, billions of times a second. And what these spiritual people throw out there in this world is that this reality refreshes based on what emotional state you are in. And I don't ascribe to the wish it and manifest it and visualize it, but I do ascribe that reality becomes far more easy to navigate when your emotional state is high. So it could be even the case that this refreshing of your reality is actually happening, could be, and that from all the different, like with all the refreshments, all the refreshings of your reality, of moving through this world, that your emotional state will decide which refreshed page you get billions of times a second. And quantum theory has this collapse of the wave function that if you observe something, that it can be one of the possible that and I'm not a quantum physicist, so please don't pin me on this shit, but it really looks like when you observe something, a definite state of matter becomes a reality. And it could very well be, and I don't have any proof for this, that the way matter collapses is decided by the emotional state of the observer. And if that is the case, there could be something to this refreshing and the law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave you with that. And so I want to move to the conclusion of this video because it's really long already. If we examine ourselves, if we facilitate these experiences with ourselves, we will live in a world where everybody will develop more empathy, more love for each other, will be so much more giving, and will follow their passion, won't be bogged down by fears so much, because all these fears come from this internal fear of dying, and also other stuff, of course. But I believe that a lot of this division, this greed, this misunderstanding of each other could so much be solved if we all would tune in to the spiritual reality that I truly, to my core, believe is here. And with that, I thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and see you next Friday. And damn, you probably see it in my eyes, but oh man, my sleep is so fucked up because I get so many ideas and oh man, I'm desperately trying to get this stuff in order, and I'm actually making decent progress by processing and actually writing down my ideas, but damn. It could be that one of these Fridays I will just skip one because, dude, this video is probably over 90 minutes long, and probably if I want to have a nuanced conversation every week about such deep topics, I should probably switch my weekly upload schedule. But that doesn't mean that I will stop uploading or something because I'm just getting started, but I have to get that emotional state, that sleep. I have to get that sleep in. We're still living here on this world in a body, and that needs sleep. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you for all the love. And subscribe if you like this video, and like if you like this video, and see you in the next one.